Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new session of our 1000 Midnights Children. I hope all of you are revising well. All right. So let me mute. Right. So I welcome you all again to a new session. I really hope all of you are doing just fine and preparing well for the upcoming NET exam. So let's move on to the session tonight. The screen is visible, I believe. Okay. So finally, I welcome you all again to a new session of our 1000 Midnights Children. So we have been doing this for quite some time now, and I really believe these sessions will benefit all of you out there. Right. Let's move on to the first question for tonight. So, before the play begins, the Viceroy of Portugal rebelled against Spanish rule. A battle took place in which the Portuguese were defeated, and their leader, the Viceroy's son Balthazar, killed the Spanish officer Andrea before being taken captive by the Spanish. So, which play is this alluding to? Is it Arden of Feversham, the Spanish tragedy, the Jew of Malta, or a game of chess? It is. Right. It is the Spanish tragedy by Thomas Kyd. It is the Spanish tragedy by Thomas Kyd. Now tell me, Thomas Kyd belonged to which group? Thomas Kyd belonged to which group? He belonged to the group of University wits. University wits. Who had coined this phrase, university wits? Who had coined this phrase, university wits? It was George Sainsbury. George Sainsbury. Who were the university wits? Who were the university wits? Christopher Marlowe, John Lilly, Robert Greene, Thomas Lodge, Thomas Nash. They were the university wits. Who wrote, which university wrote, wit wrote only comedies? Which university wit wrote only comedies? It was John Lilly. John Lilly. He was a major prose stylist in English. Next, tell me, who wrote only tragedies? Who wrote only tragedies? Christopher Marlowe. Christopher Marlowe. Which university wit wrote the first picaresque novel in English? Which university wit wrote the first picaresque novel in English? Thomas Nash wrote The Unfortunate Traveller or The Life of Jack Wilton. That was the first picaresque novel in English. Which university wit responded to Stephen Gosson's School of Abuse? Which university wit responded to Stephen Gosson's School of Abuse? And what was the name of that work? What was the name of that work? What was the name of that work? It was obviously Thomas Lodge, who wrote Defense of Poetry, Music and Stage Plays. Defense of Poetry, Music and Stage Plays in response to Stephen Gosson's School of Abuse. Stephen Gosson's School of Abuse was published in which year? Stephen Gosson's School of Abuse was published in which year? 1579. 1579. Next, tell me, This work of Stephen Gosson was dedicated to whom? This work of Stephen Gosson was dedicated to whom? Sir Philip Sidney. Sir Philip Sidney was born in which year? Sir Philip Sidney was born in which year? 1554. 1554. Sir Philip Sidney wrote the first sonnet sequence in English. True or false? Sir Philip Sidney wrote the first sonnet sequence in English. True or false? If true, then what was the name of that sonnet sequence? If true, then what was the name of that sonnet sequence? Astrophil and Stella. Astrophil and Stella. It contained how many sonnets and how many songs? It contained how many sonnets and how many songs? 108 sonnets and 11 songs. And this work was dedicated to whom? This work was dedicated to whom? Penelope Devereux. Penelope Devereux. Right. So I hope that was all about the first question, and the surrounding areas you can connect like this and study the years and everything, right? So let's move on to the next question.
All right, now we will move on to the next. Astriorudix, written by Dash, is a 1660, written by Dash in 1660, is a royalist panegyric which Dryden welcomes the new regime of King Charles II. It's there in the question, right? Yes, it's Dryden. Yes. Yeah, now tell me, when was Dryden born? When was Dryden born? 1631, yes, 1631 to 1700, right? Okay. So now tell me which work has the subtitle Justice Restored? Which work has the subtitle Justice Restored? Astriorudix. Yes, the same, Astriorudix. Yeah, so when was Annus Mirabilis written? Annus Mirabilis. Yes, Annus Mirabilis was written in 1667. Okay. So in his work, Absalom and Achitophel, who is Absalom? Who is Absalom and Achitophel? James Scott, Duke of Monmouth. Yes, James Scott, Duke of Monmouth. So who is Achitophel? Who is Achitophel? Anthony Ashley Cooper, or the Earl of Shaftesbury. Okay. So which work has these opening lines? All humans are subject to decay, and when fate summons, monarchs must obey. All human things are subject to decay, and when fate summons, monarchs must obey. Yes, it is the opening lines of MacFlecknoe, written in 1682. Yes. So when was Absalom and Achitophel written? When was Absalom and Achitophel written? 1681. Yes, 1681. So which work is subtitled A Satire Against Sedition? A Satire Against Sedition, which was also published in 1682. The Medal, yes, The Medal. And its preface opens with, and in the preface, what do we find? Yes, it is Epistle to the Wits. Okay, Epistle to the Wits. Okay, very good. Now tell me who wrote Song for Saint Cecilia's Day? Song for Saint Cecilia's Day. Dryden, yes. So, if Dryden wrote Religio Laici, what did Thomas Brown write? Thomas Brown. Religio Medici. Yes, Religio Medici. Okay. So, what is the philosophy that we find in Andrew Marvell's To His Coy Mistress? The Carpe Diem philosophy, yes, that means to seize the day. Very good. Um, Now tell me, who wrote On the Memory of Mr. Edward King Drowned in the Irish Seas? On the Memory of Mr. Edward King Drowned in the Irish Seas. No, it's not Milton. It's John Cleveland, okay? It's John Cleveland. All right. Yes. So, which was the work by Vanbrugh that was written against Colley Cibber's Love's Last Shift? Which is the work by Vanbrugh that was written against Colley Cibber's Love's Last Shift? Yes, it's not the retreat, it's the relapse, okay? The relapse or virtue in danger. Relapse or virtue in danger. Yes. So, which was the play that was singled out for attack by Jeremy Collier's short view? Which was the play that was attacked by Jeremy Collier's in his short view? The Provoked Wife. Yes, The Provoked Wife. Okay. So, our Vanbrugh had an unfinished work called A Journey of London, right? And that was completed by whom? Journey of London. It was completed by whom? And when it was completed, what was the title of it? Yeah, Colley Cibber completed it. And the title was, he wrote Provoked Wife. So Colley Cibber titled it as The Provoked Husband. The Provoked Husband. Yes. Very good, guys. Okay, so shall we move on to the next question? Yes.
The Battle of the Books is a short satire written by Jonathan Swift and published as part of the prolegomena to his A Tale of a Tub in which year? 1700, 1704, 1707, 1709. Tell me. 1704. 1704. Jonathan Swift was English or Irish? Jonathan Swift was English or Irish? He was Irish. He was Irish. What was his masterpiece? What was his masterpiece? Gulliver's Travels. Gulliver's Travels. Gulliver's Travels was published in which year? Gulliver's Travels was published in which year? 1726. 1726. How many books are there in Gulliver's Travels? How many books are there in Gulliver's Travels? 4 books. Tell me the names of the 4 books. Tell me the names of the 4 books. Island of Lilliput, then Brobdingnag, then Flying Island of Laputa, and lastly the Land of Houyhnhnms. Lilliput, Brobdingnag, Laputa, Houyhnhnms. Who served these Houyhnhnms? Houyhnhnms were a race of horses, very intelligent, right? Yahoos served them. Yahoos were what type of creatures? What type of creatures were these Yahoos? Not humans, they were humanoids. They were not exactly humans. They were humanoids, means they were like humans. There is a big difference between being a human and a humanoid. Yahoos were humanoids. So don't get confused with these little things. Okay. Is it or will it be correct to consider that Swift was a great satirist? Will it be correct to consider that Swift was a great satirist? Tell me the works of his satire. Tell me the works of his satire. A modest proposal, then. A modest proposal, then. Correct. A modest proposal was published in 1729. Gulliver's Travels was a major work of satire. Gulliver's Travels was a major work of satire, right? Don't forget this. Swift was a part of which club? Swift was a part of which club? Scribblerus Club. Scribblerus Club was for the Tories. Which club was for the Whigs? Kit Kat Club. Kit Kat Club. Who were the members of the Kit Kat Club? Congreve, Addison, Steele. Very good. They were the Walpole. They were the members of the Kit Kat Club. Kit Kat Club was for the Whigs, the Liberals, and Scribblerus Club was for the Tories, the Conservatives, right? And Swift was a member of the Scribblerus Club, which another very popular Augustan poet was a member of that Scribblerus Club. Which Augustan poet was a member of that Scribblerus Club? Alexander Pope. Alexander Pope was born in which year? Alexander Pope was born in which year? 1688, the year of the Glorious Revolution. The year of the Glorious Revolution. Which was the debut work of Pope? Which was the debut work of Pope? Pastorals. Pastorals. Very good. Pope was known as the Wasp of Dash. Sorry. Pope was known as the Wasp of Dash. The Wasp of Twickenham. The Wasp of Twickenham. Now, next tell me. Pope's An Essay on Criticism was published in which year? Pope's An Essay on Criticism, 1711. 1711, right? Okay. Who is often known as the father of the English novel? Who is often hailed as the father of the English novel? No. Daniel Defoe. Daniel Defoe. Defoe was born in which year? Defoe was born in which year? 1660, the year of the Restoration. Who was restored in 1660? Who was restored in 1660? Charles II. Charles II. Which crisis was there during the time of Charles II? Which crisis was there during the time of Charles II? Because he had no legitimate heir. Which crisis was there? He had many children, but illegitimate ones. He had no legitimate heir. Exclusion crisis. Exclusion crisis. Right, let's move on to the next question.
All right, so moving on to the next question. Which character from the Canterbury Tales tells a tale of domestic drama about the relationship between a daughter and her father, based on a tale from the histories of Letters Lewis and retold in the Romance of the Rose? Yeah. Read the question. And the answer is, yeah, let me see who is right. It is the physician. Okay. The physician. Yeah, it is option C, the physician. Okay. So with that, let me ask you a few more questions from Chaucer and Canterbury Tales. So now tell me, who wrote the Legend of Saint Cecilia? Legend of Saint Cecilia. Chaucer. So who wrote a song for Saint Cecilia's Day? A song for Saint Cecilia's Day. Yes, that was written by Dryden. Yes. So Canterbury Tales is based on a particular work, right? What is that? Yeah, it is Boccaccio's Decameron. Boccaccio's Decameron. And how many pilgrims were there? How many pilgrims? Yeah, 31, including Harry Bailey. Yes. So, which is the first tale among Canterbury Tales? The very first tale? Yeah, the Knight's Tale. Yes, the Knight's Tale is the very first tale. So, who was fresh as this month of May? Who was as fresh as the month of May? It was the Squire. The Squire was as fresh as the month of May. Yes. So, whose name was Eglantine? Whose name was Eglantine? Yes, the prioress. The prioress was called the Eglantine. So, who is described as a manly man to be an abbot able? A manly man to be an abbot able. It is the monk. The monk. Okay. So, what was the name of the friar? Friar had a name, right? So, what was the name of the friar? Hubert. Yes. The friar was Hubert. Yes. So, about whom it is referenced as, about whose wallet is referenced as, come from Rome all hot. Whose wallet is said to be, said to come from Rome all hot. It is the pardoner. Yes, it is the pardoner. Okay. So, who is that character in Canterbury Tales who's devoted to the study of philosophy and he would own at least 20 books? So whatever money he got, he used to spend it on buying books. Yeah, the clerk. The clerk. Yes. So which is that character that always asked himself, if gold rust, what would iron do? Which is the character that always asked himself, if gold rust, what would iron do? It is the parson. Yes, the parson. Yeah. So whose beard was as white as a daisy? Whose beard was as white as a daisy? Franklin. Yes, Franklin. Yeah, so who had that gap tooth and the scarlet stockings, a veil that weighed at least 10 pounds? Yes, it is the wife of Bath. Yes, the wife of Bath. Very good. So who is that person who came from Norfolk and he was fully in charge of his master's sheep? The reeve. The reeve. Yes. Okay. So who was the parson's brother? Who was the parson's brother? The plowman. Yes, the plowman. Okay. So which character had the name Roger? Which character had the name Roger? The miller, yes. The miller. Very good. So the narrator says about this character as golden fisk is a cordial. The golden physique is a cordial. About whom does the narrator says that? Yeah, the physician. I'm sorry, I said miller. It's the cook, okay? I'm sorry. Roger is the cook. Yes, the physician. The narrator describes the physician as gold in a physique is cordial. Okay, so with that, we will move on to the next question.
The woman hater or the hungry courtier is an early Jacobean era stage play, a comedy by whom? Thomas Middleton, Thomas Haywood, or is it Thomas Dekker, or is it Beaumont and Fletcher? Who wrote the woman hater? Tell me. Yes, YouTubers are also answering. Yes, guys, keep answering. Right, tell me. Yeah, it is. Roger Cook. Roger Cook was not there even in the options. Anyways, it's by Beaumont and Fletcher. It's by Beaumont and Fletcher. Okay. So tell me, how many plays were jointly written by Beaumont and Fletcher? How many plays were jointly written by Beaumont and Fletcher? 52. 52. And do remember this work, it's quite an important work by Beaumont and Fletcher, The Woman Hater or The Hungry Courtier, which was their first tragicomedy. Which was their first tragicomedy. Philaster or Love Lies a Bleeding is an early Jacobean era stage play. It was their first tragicomedy, right? Okay. So, Philaster or Love Lies a Bleeding. That was the first tragicomedy. Next, tell me. The Maid's Tragedy. The Maid's Tragedy was first published in which year? The Maid's Tragedy is a play by Beaumont and Fletcher. It was first published in 1619. 1619. The Maid's Tragedy by Beaumont and Fletcher. The Maid's Tragedy by Beaumont and Fletcher. Next, tell me. A King and No King. A King and No King is a dash by Beaumont and Fletcher. A King and No King is a dash by Beaumont and Fletcher. What is it? It's a tragicomedy. It's a tragicomedy. A King and No King is a tragicomedy by Beaumont and Fletcher. Next, Cupid's Revenge. Cupid's Revenge was published in which year? Cupid's Revenge by Beaumont and Fletcher was published in which year? 1615. 1615. The play was entered into the Stationer's Register on 24th April 1615 and first published later that year in a quarto printed by Thomas Kyd for the bookseller Josias Harrison. Cupid's Revenge. It's a Jacobean tragedy by Beaumont and Fletcher, and it was a popular success. Cupid's Revenge. Please look up all the plays of Beaumont and Fletcher. Also important are Middleton, Haywood, and Decker. Do look up their works as well, especially the plays in their correct chronology. It's very important. All right, let's move on to the next. So before we proceed, let me give you all a reminder that we have already started our admissions for both our offline and online classes for June NET exam 2025. If you haven't enrolled for our courses yet, please do. And you can choose freely. You can either go for the online thing or you can join us offline as well in Trivandrum or Ernakulam as per your convenience, right? Also, there are phone numbers on the screen where you can contact us if you have any further queries regarding these courses. So do join us soon, right? All right, let's move on to the next question.
Yes, so we will quickly move on to the next. On Heroes, Hero Worship and Heroic in History is a book by Thomas Carlyle, published by James Fraser, London in 1841. It is a collection of dash lectures given in May 1840 about prominent historical figures. Yes. So tell me. Oh, I'm getting every answers. A, B, C, D. Yeah, it's a collection of how many lectures? Yes, it is 6 lectures. Okay, 6 lectures. It is a collection of 6 lectures. Okay. Now tell me, when was Sartor Resartus written? Sartor Resartus. Which year? Carlyle's Sartor Resartus. When was it written? 1637. No, it is 1836. 1836. Yes, Carlyle's Sartor Resartus was written in 1836. And the Latin title means tailor repatched. Okay. Tailor repatched. Okay. So, in which work by Thomas Carlyle was this phrase introduced? Condition of England question. Condition of England question. So, in which work was this phrase introduced? Yes, Chartism. Chartism of 1814. Chartism of 1814. So, who wrote French Revolution? Who wrote French Revolution? Carlyle, yes. So, in how many volumes did he write French Revolution? In how many volumes did he write French Revolution? 3 volumes. Yes, very good. 3 volumes. Okay. Now, so in this work, past and present, how many poems are there? How many poems are there in past and present? Past and present. I mean, it's not poems. How many books? Yeah, 4 books. Proem, Ancient Monk, The Modern Worker, Horoscope. These are the 4 books. Okay. All right. So, which is that work that was written by Carlyle against the Great Reform Act of 1867? Yes, it is Shooting Niagara and After. Shooting Niagara and After. Yes. So, in this work on heroes, hero worship, and heroic in history, he talks about some leaders in religion, poetry, war, politics, right? So, in that, who is considered as the greatest leaders in poetry? Poetry. Who is considered as the greatest in poetry? Yes, Dante and Shakespeare. Yes. So, what about man of letters? Man of letters. Or men of letters. Yes, we have Dr. Johnson, Rousseau, and Burns. Dr. Johnson, Rousseau, and Burns. Yes. So, who is considered as the greatest leader of divinity? As the greatest leader of divinity? Odin, yes. Odin is the greatest leader of divinity. And who's considered as the greatest king or the leader? Kings were Cromwell and Napoleon. Cromwell and Napoleon. And prophet? And the greatest prophet was, according to Carlyle, yes, it is Muhammad. Muhammad, Prophet Muhammad. All right. Yes, so we will move on to the next question.
No time hath she to sport and play. A charmed web she weaves always. Who does this she refer to? Is it the Lady of Shalott, Circe, Aurora, or Moon Goddess? Who is this she referring to? Are you all sure? Okay, let's see. It is indeed the Lady of Shalott. It's a poem by It's a poem by Tennyson. Tennyson was born in which year? Tennyson was born in which year? 1809. 1809. Complete the title of this poem. The Charge of the Dash. The Charge of the Dash. Light Brigade. Light Brigade. Okay. Which poem by Tennyson uses an extended metaphor for death? Which poem by Tennyson uses an extended metaphor for death? Crossing the bar. Crossing the bar. Okay. Next. The Eagle is a poem by. The Eagle is a poem by. The Eagle is a poem by. Tennyson. Tennyson. Okay. Break, Break, Break by Tennyson is a and dash. Break, Break, Break by Tennyson, a/an dash. We all know it's a poem, but what type of poem is it? It's an elegy. It's an elegy that describes Tennyson's feelings of loss after Arthur Henry Hallam's death. It's an elegy. Next. Okay. Which is the companion piece of Ulysses? Which is the companion piece of Ulysses? The Lotos Eaters. The Lotos Eaters. Idylls of the King retells the legend of whom? Idylls of the King retells the legend of whom? King Arthur, his knights, his love for Guinevere, and her tragic betrayal of him, and the rise and fall of Arthur's kingdom. All right. Next, tell me. Tithonus is a dash by Tennyson. Tithonus is a dash by Tennyson. It's a dramatic monologue. It's a dramatic monologue. Okay. Which poem Which poem by Tennyson portrays or reflects on a woman's lack of connection with the society? Which poem by Tennyson reflects on a woman's laments on her lack of connection from society? To the point that this isolation defines her existence, and her longing for a connection leaves her wishing for death at the end of every stanza. She is wishing for her death in every stanza. Mariana. Mariana. Got it? Okay. What is the full title of the princess? What is the full title of the princess? The Princess a Medley. The Princess a Medley. Okay. The Kraken is a dash by Tennyson. The Kraken is a dash by Tennyson. It's a sonnet. It's a sonnet. Okay. Next, tell me. Which poem, I'm not talking about in memoriam. Which poem was written by Tennyson in 1850, the year in which he became the poet laureate? But this poem was a very important part of In Memoriam. And this poem was written in that year exactly. Ring out wild bells. Ring out wild bells. Do read these poems to get yourself acquainted with the lines. Okay. Next, tell me. I will tell you some lines. Tell me from which poem these lines have been taken. Listen to me carefully. Comrades, leave me here a little, while as yet it is early morn. Leave me here, and when you want me, sound upon the bugle horn. These lines are from Comrades, leave me here. A very famous starting to which poem? No. Ulysses has a very different beginning altogether. No, 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 no. Locksley Hall, Locksley Hall. You guys should know the beginnings of Ulysses and all that. So don't get confused in such easy things. I told you some lines. The lines were, comrades, leave me here a little, while as yet it is early morn. Leave me here, and when you want me, sound upon the bugle horn. These are the opening lines of Locksley Hall. So please read some poems, right? So clearly, you need to read some poems, because getting confused with Ulysses and In Memoriam is not a thing. No, 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 you can't do this. Those poems should be widely read. Next question.
Okay, moving on to the next. Henry and Mary Crawford are characters in Dash. It's an easy one. Henry and Mary Crawford are characters in, yes, Mansfield Park. Mansfield Park, yes, very good. So, in which year was Mansfield Park published? Mansfield Park of Jane Austen. 1814. Okay, 1814. Mansfield Park was published in 1814. Yes, we also have characters like Fanny Price in Mansfield Park. Remember? Yes. So, in this particular work, we have the young Fanny and Edmund are supposed to enact a play. Do you guys know what that play is and who wrote that play? Yes, it is Lovers' Vows. Yes, Lovers' Vows by Elizabeth Inchbald. Lovers' Vows by Elizabeth Inchbald. Yes. So now tell me, where is Emma set? Where is Emma set? Emma. Sighting of Emma, yes, in the village of Highbury. Highbury. Yes. So, which work was discussed in Edward Said's Culture and Imperialism? So, which work was discussed? It is Mansfield Park again. Yes, Mansfield Park. Okay. So, we know that Northanger Abbey was published in 1818, right? So, what was the other work by Jane Austen that was published in the same year? It is Persuasion. Yes, Persuasion. Yes. So in Northanger Abbey, we have this character called Catherine Morland, who's a 17-year-old, right? She's fond of a particular work of a particular author. She's very fond of reading Gothic novels, and her favorite Gothic novel is, yes, it is Anne Radcliffe's Mysteries of Udolpho. Anne Radcliffe's Mysteries of Udolpho. Okay. So which work was published by Jane Austen under the pseudonym A Lady? Under the pseudonym A Lady. Yes, it is Sense and Sensibility. Sense and Sensibility in 1811. Okay. So which work has the original title called original title First Impressions? Which work has the original title as First Impression, and it is compared to Shakespeare's Much Ado About Nothing? It is Pride and Prejudice. Yes, Pride and Prejudice. Okay. Now tell me, who praised Jane Austen as the exquisite touch which renders ordinary commonplace things and characters interesting? Who praised Jane Austen's works as the exquisite touch which renders ordinary commonplace things and characters interesting? Yes, it is Scott. Yes, very good. Scott. So when was Jane Austen born? When was Jane Austen born? 1775. Yes, 1775. Okay, now moving on. Now tell me, who wrote this essay called Regulated Hatred, an Aspect of the Work of Jane Austen? Regulated Hatred, an Aspect of the Work of Jane Austen. Who wrote that essay? Yes, D.W. Harding. D.W. Harding wrote, yes, Regulated Hatred, an Aspect of the Work of Jane Austen. Now tell me, who wrote a memoir of Jane Austen? Who wrote a memoir of Jane Austen? It was her nephew, right? Yes, it is James Edward Austen Leigh. James Edward Austen Leigh. Okay. So can you tell me an epistolary novel by Jane Austen? Can you name an epistolary novel by Jane Austen? Lady Susan. Lady Susan is an epistolary novel. Yes. So where do you find these lines, or in which novel do we find these lines? Remember that we are English, that we are Christians. Remember that we are English, that we are Christians. Yes, it is from Northanger Abbey. Yes, Northanger Abbey. Henry says to Catherine. Yes, Northanger Abbey. All right, very good. So we will move on to the next question now.
London 1802 is a poem by Dash. In the poem, the speaker castigates the English people as stagnant and selfish and eulogizes the 17th century poet John Milton. So, this poem is by whom? Coleridge, Sade, Wordsworth, or Shelley? Obviously, it's by Wordsworth. Wordsworth. Wordsworth was born in which year? 1770. 1770. Tell me the full title of Tintin Abbey. Tell me the full title of Tintin Abbey. Lines written a few miles above Tintin Abbey. Lines written a few miles above Tintin Abbey. This is the shortened title. Full title is Lines written or composed a few miles above Tintin Abbey on revisiting the banks of the Wye during a tour, July 13, 1798. That's the full title. Lines written a few miles above Tintin Abbey on revisiting the banks of the Wye during a tour, July 13, 1798. What type of poem it is? Tintin Abbey is a dash poem. What will you say? What type of poem is Tintin Abbey? What type of poem is it? It's a topographical poem. It's a topographical poem. Topographical. The Prelude is a dash by Wordsworth. The Prelude is a dash by Wordsworth. It's a spiritual autobiography by Wordsworth in blank verse. It was posthumously published in which year? It was posthumously published in which year? 1850. 1850. How many books are there in the Prelude? How many books are there in the Prelude? 14 books. 14 books. This philosophical poem was intended as an introduction to. This philosophical poem was intended as an introduction to the recluse. The recluse. All right. The recluse. Yeah. Next, tell me. No. But I would like to tell you all that please try to read as much as you can of the original text to get a hang of his writing style, the style which he has followed in the Prelude. That might help you to answer questions, specifically in terms of the quotes. Specifically in terms of the quotes which will be given in the exams. If you are aware or accustomed with the writing style of the specific writers and poets, it will help you to answer correctly or eliminate the wrong options as much as you can, right? On that note, let's move on to the next question.
Okay, so the next question is, in 1826, Martial, murdered Rigaud, narrates to his prison cellmate, John Baptist Cavalletto, how he had killed his wife just prior to being taken to the trial. Which novel is this? Yes, it is from. No, it's not Bleak House. It is Little Dorrit. Yes, Little Dorrit. Okay. Now tell me, I'll ask you a few more questions on Charles Dickens. So who wrote the life of Charles Dickens? The life of Charles Dickens. Life of Charles Dickens. Yes. Tell me. It is? No, it's not Chesterton. It is John Forster. Okay. John Forster wrote the life of Charles Dickens. Okay. So which work was written by Dickens after he was inspired by Carlyle's The French Revolution, A History, which work was written by Dickens after he got inspired by Carlyle's The French Revolution. It is The Tale of Two Cities. Yes, The Tale of Two Cities. Yes, okay. Now tell me which work or which novel by Peter Ackroyd is based on Dickens' Little Dorrit. Which work by Peter Ackroyd is based on Dickens' Little Dorrit? Yes, it is The Great Fire. Peter Ackroyd's The Great Fire is based on Little Dorrit. Okay. Now tell me, when was Great Expectations published? When was Great Expectations published? 1861. Okay. 1861. Yes. Okay. So now tell me, which is Dickens' very first novel? Dickens' first novel was The Pickwick Papers. First novel was Pickwick Papers. So which novel was serialized in Bentley's Miscellany? Which novel was serialized in Bentley's Miscellany? Yes, it is The Parish Boy. The Parish Boy was serialized in Bentley's Miscellany. Okay. Now, um, do you tell me the full title of Nicholas Nickleby? The full title of Nicholas Nickleby. Life and Adventures of Life and Adventures of Nicholas Nickleby is the full title. And which year was it published? Which year was it published? 1838. Okay. 1838. Now, where do you find this character called Ebenezer Scrooge in Dickens' novel? Ebenezer Scrooge. And it has got 5 chapters labeled as tabs. Yes, it is A Christmas Carol. Okay. A Christmas Carol. Okay. Now tell me, which work has the subtitle as A Parish Boy's Progress? Which work has a subtitle as A Parish Boy's Progress? Yes, it is Oliver Twist. Yes, Oliver Twist. Okay, now where do you find this, or in which novel do you find this character Nell Trent as the protagonist? Nell Trent. Nell Trent is in The Old Curiosity Shop. Yes, Old Curiosity Shop. Okay. Now tell me, where do you find this character Edith Granker in Dickens novels? Edith Granker. Edith Granker. It is from Dompe and Sons. Okay. Dompe and Sons. Okay. So which work is subtitled as For These Times? Which work is subtitled as For These Times, and it is also a shortest novel? Yes, it is The Hard Times. The Hard Times is subtitled as These Times, For These Times. Okay. So where is the setting of Hard Times? Where is the setting of Hard Times? Setting of Hard Times is in Coketown. Yes, Coketown. Okay, so with that, we will move on to the next question.
We will gloss over these questions really quick. It's already time. Chips with Everything is a 1962 play by Dash. And the play shows class attitudes at the time by examining the life of a corporal. So is it by Rattigan, Osborne, Wesker, or Christopher Fry? It's by Arnold Wesker. Arnold Wesker wrote Chips with Everything. Right. Next question.
Okay, we will quickly move on. Which among the following is not a campus novel? Which among the following is not a campus novel? No, it's not The Idiot by Batuman. It is The Big Sleep. Okay. The Big Sleep by Raymond Chandler. It is the first novel that features this detective character called Philip Marlowe. The Big Sleep by Raymond Chandler. Okay, next question.
On Beauty is a 2005 novel by Zadie Smith, loosely based on what? Mrs. Dalloway by Wolfe, Howard's End by E.M. Foster, Sons and Lovers by D.H. Lawrence, or Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. Yes, it is loosely based on Howard's End by E.M. Foster. Okay, next.
Okay. On Being Third is an essay by Dash which seeks to establish illness as a serious subject of literature along the lines of love, jealousy, and battle. Yeah, it's an easy one. On Being Third. On Being Ill. I'm sorry, I said third. On Being Ill is an essay by Virginia Woolf. Okay. On Being Ill is an essay by Virginia Woolf. Yes. Very good. So, yes. Yeah, with that, we've come to the end of the questions for the day. Yeah, again, just a note that we are starting our regular offline classes both in Trivandrum and Ernakulam starting from January for this June 2025 NECT exam. Our offline and online classes, admissions for the offline and online classes have already begun. We have classes in Trivandrum and Ernakulam. So please contact this number so that you can know more about it. All right. So thank you everyone for joining us tonight. Bye bye.